Man, what is taking so long? Is probably what a lot of 49er fans are saying right now in regards to naming the next defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, we have made it abundantly clear that Robert Saleh is intended to take over that spot, but it hasn't happened yet. And why is that? And should there be cause for concern? Now, again, we're just going to talk about all these different things because it has been a whirlwind of just a bunch of different things over the last week or so. It's just been a constant changing of the entire situation. So we're going to talk about it all. We're going to do our game picks too. Don't forget, we got playoff NFC championship football coming up. So we're going to have to do some picks as well. But what's taking so darn long? Let's talk about it all right now. Smash that like button, drop an SDS. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, sourdough squad? Hendrick says, I'm stressed out with this whole situation. All I can do is laugh because it just feels like this is the typical ebb and flow of a 49ers offseason. We really never know what we're going to get. It feels like the second we got something in the palm of our hand, you never really know what is going to happen. But let's talk about it because as it stands right now on Friday, January 24th, it is 4:38 p.m. here on the West Coast, and we have no announcement of Robert Saleh to the San Francisco 49ers as their next defensive coordinator. Now, we've all been through all the reports. We all know what's expected, right? The expectation, we understand. But we're just waiting. We're waiting for the official word. And I think pretty much everything has come to fruition that it can. I did find it interesting. I think it was today. Matt Barrows of The Athletic had mentioned on his podcast with Tim Kawakami, I believe it's the 49ers Plus Minus podcast, that the 49ers have a slight fear of Pete Carroll swooping in, smacking his gum, and somehow persuading Robert Saleh to come be his defensive coordinator. But throughout that whole conversation, it basically came back to the most likely outcome is it's going to be Robert Saleh as the 49ers next DC. So I thought it was a nice little injection of anxiety to put into the fan base just because we know how it goes, right? We're waiting. And so as we're quietly waiting, we just get this little like, oh, just maybe. And all of a sudden we're like, well, wait a second. What could happen? Robert Saleh changes his mind. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think it just, again, it's human nature to be waiting. And as you're waiting, especially for something that you really want, you start to think of all the possible ranges of outcomes that could potentially happen. I think that's just normal. I'm still of the mindset that it's going to be Robert Saleh. Obviously, there's still two head coaching jobs, the Saints and the Cowboys. We know Saleh interviewed for the Cowboys, but I'm not sure exactly what they're waiting for. They could be potentially waiting for some of the playoff teams to finish. Maybe there are some coaches that they're looking for either on any of the four teams that are going right now. I don't know. Maybe Spagnolo is potentially a top target for one of these teams. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what's happening. So I was hopeful that we would have found out right after Liam Cohen was officially named the head coach of the Jaguars. I was like, oh man, that's setting up for just the perfect storm to get that announced right away. But we will wait, and we will wait a little bit longer until that happens. So I'm personally not going to stress too much about it. Um, I am acknowledging that that is a variable outcome, that somehow he gets swayed, but I don't believe that is going to happen. It could happen, but hey, if it does, I don't know what options are really left for the 49ers. They'll have to head back to the drawing board to see what's going to happen. You want to know a name on the coaching staff that I actually am concerned about being poached away by Pete Carroll? It is the 49ers. I think he's a quality control coach with as kind of specifically in the linebacker room, and that's KJ Wright. Now, there's a name that I am concerned about potentially um, being poached off our staff. Obviously, played under Pete Carroll, understands the staff, and could get elevated to being a linebackers coach because he's currently only, I believe, a QC. So it would make sense for Pete Carroll to give him a job title promotion and a little bit more responsibility. Unless the 49ers give him a raise internally, it is going to be interesting because KJ is actually coaching in the Senior Bowl on behalf of the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm actually excited about this, obviously with the mindset that KJ's sticking around and he's not going to get poached by good old Pistol Pete. But I am excited at the potential notion that of some of these guys that he will be coaching. Specifically, right there at the top of the list is Mike Green. I'm a big fan of Mike Green. Mike Green reminds me so much of Brian Burns. It's not even funny. Even how much he's weighing in here at the Senior Bowl reminds me of Brian Burns, because I remember talking with Brian kind of throughout the early portion of the draft process around this time, because this was around the time that I became aware of Brian Burns. He wasn't a big name. He wasn't someone that anyone was talking about. And so I remember talking with him about his weight, because he was Mike Green's at about 236 pounds right now. That is about the same weight that Brian Burns was at about this time this year. And the big goal for Brian Burns, get to 250. Get to 250 by the combine and show that you're not going to lose any speed or explosiveness. And that's exactly what he did. And boom, draft stock rose, ended up being a first round draft pick. And of course, you guys know I love Brian Burns. And Mike Green is the closest prospect that reminds me of Brian Burns that I have seen since Brian Burns. So I'm not worried about the weight. Other people are. Other people are going to see the 236 and they're going to be like, all right, I'm out. I'm not concerned, especially if he continues to add the weight and build onto his frame. And you see from now until the combine, he's able to add some weight and he doesn't lose any explosiveness. I'm sold. So it's the same game plan that we saw with Brian Burns. Um, Donovan, I'm just going to call him Easy. because just like everyone's name that isn't super simple, I'm going to absolutely destroy it. So, Easy, the Boston College kid, um, he's a little bit on the shorter side, but man, I love his athletic ability. Kind of a little bit of that D Ford in him. But I'm excited that KJ is coaching them. He'll get up close and personal, and I'm excited to see what he can do at the Senior Bowl. And I'm excited to get my eyes on these guys next week as I'll be heading down to Mobile, Alabama to get my eyes on some of these Senior Bowl prospects. So I'm really excited about that because I haven't been able to get back to the Senior Bowl since 2021. So it's been long overdue, but I'm excited to get back. But KJ Wright's going to be coaching a couple of these guys. People have been telling me about the Oregon linebacker. He's someone that I'll take a look into. Also, Keandre Jackson as well. He's listed as a safety, but he's running with the linebackers. So there's going to be a couple guys that I will be looking at. So overall, let's gauge the chat. Let's gauge the chat. Get your typing fingers ready. All right. So I want to know your level of concern. I think I saw Chili. Chili, I'm going to get to your super chat here in a second. What is your level of concern with Robert Saleh being the 49ers' next defensive coordinator as we stand here? And this is our grading system. 100 means you're all the way concerned. He's out of here. He's not coming back. 0, obviously, you understand what that means. No big deal. It's not even a thought. He is going to be the 49ers' next DC. I just want to gauge. I just want to gauge where we're at. I want to gauge the anxiety meter of the fan base. Where are we on that? Are we high levels of anxiety? Are we low levels? Just kind of see where we're at. I mean, right off the bat, J-Tan's like, I'm a little anxious. Eric says, I'm fine. Not a big deal. Hendrick's like, yeah, I'm a little anxious too. So I feel it. Hey, and we just saw what happened with the whole Liam Cohn situation and how that situation came to fruition. So I totally understand any levels of anxiety that anyone might have, just because we recognize it is the NFL and literally things flip on its head constantly. So the hope is that it's not that big of a deal. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic that everything's going to be fine. But we'll see. I think we definitely are covering all our bases. Some people are concerned, some people are a little anxious, others not so much. Like Chili, I don't even know what that number is right there. Juan says 90 because I'm an overly anxious person. I totally understand that for sure. So 1,000. So there's I think there's just that's the life of being a 49er fan, right? You're a little anxious. Every time you think something's going to go a certain way, a little bit cautious. But hey, not everyone's too worried about it. I like that. Callie says 0%. He's coming back. I like that attitude. And that's the hope. The hope is no more shenanigans. Robert Saleh, just I don't know, I guess waiting to see where we're at. And SoCal says typical 49ers offseason. Honestly, like as a 49ers content creator, you would think like you're like, oh man, it's the off season. Like, well, what are we going to talk about? Here we go. Chili, I saw you. I'm going to get you. He says, Brad, did you see my donation? That was my gas money. I'm hitchhiking right now. DC Watch day, what is it? 14. Will the 49ers maintain Robert Saleh? Chili says mock draft tonight. I don't know. I don't know if we're ready to hop into a mock draft just yet. I think live mock drafts, all next week. I mean, we're gonna be doing lives from the Senior Bowl. But he says, I know after 30 minutes of talking about Saleh, we'll get bored. Also, if you haven't already join the Discord. Absolutely join the Discord. Chili, best Discord mod in the game. Don't get it twisted. But I don't want to talk about Robert Saleh this whole time. So we only got a couple more minutes of Robert Saleh conversation, and then I'll flip it to you guys. This is going to be more of a Q&A, and then we'll do some game picks, all of that. In fact, if there is any more, I see this all the time, man. Wesley says we need more Lombardi, and we need more of more Lombardi collabs. I see that all the time. Hey, I don't disagree. But let me open it up to you guys. Is there anything else Robert Saleh related or coaching related that you guys want to talk about? So I'll give you that opportunity, and we can either continue the conversation if you have any other questions, comments, concerns. If not, we can move on to just ask me AMA. Okay. Special teams coach. Special teams coach. I mean, I like the idea of what's his name? Oh, I had it on the tip of my tongue. The New York Jets special teams coordinator that was there, Brant Boyer. He was there since 2016. At one point, he had the second highest ranked special teams unit. That was 2021, and that was actually when the Jets were awful. So I talk about it all the time, man. If you can be a coordinator and you can survive multiple head coaches and general managers, it's a pretty good sign. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know how to judge special teams coordinators, because I don't. But I think one metric that stands out to me is being able to survive multiple regimes and head coaches. So, and clearly he has a working relationship with Robert Saleh. So it'd make a lot of sense, in my opinion, from a continuity standpoint, especially bringing someone new into the mix that maybe, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch don't really have a working relationship with. If you trust someone like Robert Saleh and you can bring in Brant Boyer and you feel that, hey, this guy could come in and do the job that we've been looking for someone to do since, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch took over this thing. We'll see. I don't mind that one. So again, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a special teams coaching expert, but those are the kinds of things that I think I'm really looking for. Is Joe Woods coming back with Saleh? I think that would be a good option. I mean, Sorensen doesn't seem like he's coming back. Staley doesn't seem like he's coming back. And if that's the case, he could come back and coach DBs, because from what I heard from Matt Barrows today on his podcast, is I'd really never heard anyone exactly say what Brandon Staley coached, but he said today he coached coached the Nickels. He coached the Nickelbacks. He coached. I don't know why when I said Nickelbacks, it just made me look at this photograph. Just made me think of the band, and I apologize for that terrible singing. But when I said Nickelbacks, I'm like, wait, did I say that correctly? It's Friday. Leave me alone, guys. It's Friday. Leave me alone. Let me be in my element. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. But yes, according to Matt Barrows, the Nickelback. God damn it. Every time I keep saying it, I just think of the one he's holding the look at this photograph. Every time I see, sorry, that's my daughter. Every time I see it makes my life. It's Friday. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. It's Friday. Leave me alone. It's Friday. I'm gonna go be traveling for 2 weeks. Leave me alone. All right. So Staley coaches the Nickelbacks. Look at this. Sorry. So Joe Woods could theoretically come in and coach DBs. He could swap into the role that Staley had potentially. So, oh gosh, it's Friday. Leave me alone. Oh, I got your super chat already. Let's see. Any other coaching questions? We talked about special teams. We talked about the potential of Joe Woods coming in. Let's see. Strength and conditioning coach. Strength and conditioning coach needs help. Now, this one's always interesting to me because the 49ers have already kind of swapped these guys out. I remember they did it the first time. Was it 2020? I can't remember. But they've already swapped out their staff, and I don't know. I don't have any numbers here in front of me to be able to like track. Have injuries improved? Have they gotten better? Because last year they were pretty healthy, all things considered. This year was just, again, it was completely different. Is that the training staff's fault? I don't know. I'm not really sure. So that's why for me, coaching is such a man. If you're not under the coaching or you're not around the coaching, for me personally, it's really hard to judge because what's the player's responsibility? What's the coach's responsibility? What position is the coach putting him in? What is he not? You know what I'm saying? So for me, if I was like in the building every day and I could see, I could absolutely judge if a coach was good or not. But it's really hard to do it from the outside looking in, especially for positional coaches. You really have to rely on how they speak about it and how they talk about them. Kubiak or Slowick as OC. Interesting. I feel like you have to give it to Kubiak because he already did. That would be, I don't know. So I would look at it like this. You give the OC title to Clay Kubiak. You bring Slowick back as the pass game coordinator. And just let him chill. Unless there's maybe other teams that are interested in him. I think it would make sense to stick with kind of what you were planning on doing, opposed to just switching it up and kind of being like, sorry, Clay. Bobby became available, so we're going to go with Bobby. I know Bobby was already the offensive coordinator for the 49ers, before he went over to the Texans. That's it's one of those things where it's like you already publicly named Clay. That the NFL made you open up the negotiations, and yes, you have the freedom to be able to make other decisions, just like we've seen across the league. But I feel like that's one of those where you're like, you know what? Well, we're going to keep you around, Clay. And we're going to keep you in that spot. But if you want to have Slowick come back, he can be the pass game coordinator. Because then also, if you think about it, if for whatever reason Clay Kubiak gets a head coaching job or a different offensive coordinator job somewhere else, you kind of have Slowick waiting in the wings, and then you put him as the OC, and you just kind of have this hopper of at least coaches that you trust and think could do the job. So I'm not opposed to bringing him back, but I do think you got to rock with Clay as what you originally announced. It's kind of how I'm looking at it. How impactful is OC when Shan makes his own calls? This is how I look at it. This is how I perceive how an offensive coordinator works under Kyle Shanahan. I would imagine they're big into the game plan. They're big into presenting all of the options to Kyle. Basically, I think I've heard the analogy before. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like almost like the sous chef, right? The sous chef is preparing everything, sharpening the knives, getting everything prepared, making sure it's a seamless transition. I don't even know if this is a great example, but then you have your head chef. Spoiler alert, I've been watching a lot of Kitchen Nightmare recently. I low key been binge watching Kitchen Nightmare. I don't know why. So I think that's why that analogy came to my head. It's Friday. Leave me alone. So you have like your sous chef, right? And then you have your head chef. Like that's really kind of how I look at the setup is the guy who is next to Kyle is trying to get everything ready, get everything prepared, make sure everything's in its spot where it needs to be, and all of that. And then Kyle just comes over and he's like, "All right, we're cooking now, Benihana style." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really think that's kind of, at least that's my perception of the outside looking in, without zero knowledge of how they manage their responsibilities. They're responsible for a lot of pulling the information together, and then Kyle comes in and is like, "Okay, this is how we're gonna put it together. This is how we're gonna script our plays. This is how we're gonna attack the defense. These are the adjustments. These are our red zone plays. These are our third down plays, third and short, third and long." And they kind of take all the information and they customize a menu to stick on the cooking theme. They customize the menu per opponent, and then Kyle got his play sheet, and he starts calling it as he sees it. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. I think it's more of like a right hand man to Kyle, in preparing and getting ready for opposing defenses and all that stuff. So I hope that answer suffices. Uh, Kitchen Nightmare. It's a good show. I'm not gonna lie. um, so before we open it up to some Q&A, let's do our picks, because I like the matchups that we got this weekend. And again, if you haven't rocked with us, all you got to do to play these tickets is SF Niners. You put in 5, you get 55, and I'm going to show you an example of how close I was to winning $2,500 last week. it's it's kind of painful, but also at the same time, like it's a learning moment, right? So close. I told you guys about this ticket that I made last week, and I was like, I'm feeling good about it. I told you too, and it was a big ticket. It was way bigger than I typically make. And so as you can see, I hit on all of those, and then game flow screwed me with these two. So I put 75 bucks. That was it. So like if you do the thing like I said, you use my promo code, you put in 5, you get 55. You can literally take that 55, make small tickets, make big tickets, whatever you want to do, but $75 down. If I won this, I would have got 2,500 bucks. I was so close. But again, you don't have to do these many picks. But I expected Jamison Williams to get involved. My mistake was using him on the receptions over. Um, and then game flow with Terry McLaurin. He got the targets to be able to get over 5.5, but we only came in at 4. So super close. I felt super good about these picks, especially the De'Ami Brown because it was at 2.5 and he's been on fire. So this is an example of show how close it could be. But I'm going to show you my picks for this week. Hopefully, we'll have similar success. But I'll show you, man. So, like I said, if you wanted to drop 5 and then you immediately get 55 back into your wallet, this is a $40 ticket. If I win, I get over 1,100. I'm telling you, man. If we get one of these mega ones, I'm definitely going to be Venmoing some of you. But we got to hit. So I went Jaden Daniels over 1.5 touchdowns. I went Jalen Hurts, a rush touchdown. Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. Josh Allen rushing touchdown. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns last week. I got to ride the hot hand of Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to have a rushing touchdown. And then I'm going De'Ami Brown again. I'm going over 3.5. So that's my ticket. $40. Could get me 1,100. That's a risk I am willing to take. But if we're just going to talk about the games itself, from a weather perspective, it's supposed to be clear. It's going to be cold, but it's going to be clear. Don't put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I'm riding the De'Ami Brown train until we crash and burn. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But I do think I like the Washington versus Philly game because I do think it will be a high scoring game. It is outdoors and it'll be a little chilly. But I do expect it to still be a high scoring game and a competitive one at that. So I expect a lot of back and forth in that one. And that was kind of my logic last week with Detroit and Washington. I expected it to be a high flying game. So that's where I went. But again, you guys have so many opportunities if you want to build out your own ticket. You don't have to copy mine. You can do your own for sure. But this is just kind of where my head was at. And then, with Buffalo and KC, I don't know. I don't feel as confident right now in that game. I just really don't know which way it's going to go. I think Josh Allen, you get into that red zone, he becomes a fullback. So I'm not too concerned about that. But Man, I just hope Buffalo wins. That's the really only thing that I'm sweating on that game is that yeah, you're reading that 100% right. That was a $40 ticket. If I hit on all those picks, 1100. And like I said, again, if you kind of want to mess with that and you use my promo code SF Niners and you play $5, you get 55. So you could take 40 out of that and then build a ticket just based on what you get immediately. Uh, so that's what I'm talking about, pal. See, that's how it is. We can make it work without having to be super like crazy on you. Like I know people you don't want to go crazy on this, but you can work the system a little bit. And so I'm just trying to help you out. So but anyways, um for I want Kansas City to lose. That's a fact. And in regard to Philadelphia, Washington, I definitely want Washington to win. I've already made it clear I've become a Washington fan for the remainder of the playoffs. I think it's almost impossible to not like Jaden Daniels right now. I don't know if you guys heard the story. He did a jersey swap with Terrion Mitchell, I believe his name is. I don't know. No, Terrion Arnold, right? Terrion Arnold, I believe their rookie, the Lions rookie cornerback. And at the bottom of his jersey swap, where they swap jerseys and they autograph it, he said he signed it Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3. That's cold. That's cold. You just eliminate this guy out of the playoffs. He's like, "Hey man, let's do a jersey swap." And you're like, "All right, bet. Let me get your jersey." You sign it and then you say Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3. I love Jaden, man. I love Jaden. I wasn't like I've told you before, I wasn't watching him all that much last year. Um at all. But when I started doing some dynasty research into his wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., I was like, oh, this guy's good. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I'm a Commanders fan. I can't help it. I'm gonna root for the Commanders. Not because I hate Philly. Like honestly, I've talked about this before. We've had our beef with Philly. Remember Brandon Aiyuk came on my channel. He said what he said about Philly, and that's all they talked about in the lead up of that Super Bowl between Philly and KC was the 49ers, which was crazy. That was just such a crazy situation that our interview went that viral and that crazy that it dominated Super Bowl week. Never in my life would I imagine something like that would happen. But our conversation dominated Super Bowl week, and that created that trash talk back and forth between Philadelphia and the 49ers, right? You had Slay say what he said at the Super Bowl, and then you had Debo go onto a podcast and he said what he said, and it was just a boom, 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 and then it was on fire. And then um and then it lasted all off season into the regular season until we met Philly mid-year. After the 49ers dismantled Philly, I was like, all right, we know what the answer is. And I just moved on with my life. I think Philly still doesn't like the 49ers. I think Philly fans still hold a grudge against us. And I know some 49er fans do too. I don't really care about Philly if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I mean that sincerely. If they win, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. Even as a bandwagon Commanders fan now, it doesn't bother me if Philly wins. It will bother me if the Chiefs win because I just don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't want to see the Chiefs and the refs and Taylor Swift, and I don't want to see none of that. And so this is really the crazy part about it is that Taylor Swift is such a cash cow. I hope everyone recognizes this. There's a reason that last week's playoff game for Kansas City was the highest viewed playoff game, I think, in ESPN's history. A lot of that has to do with Taylor Swift. She is her own economy. And she brings a entirely new set of eyeballs onto football that wouldn't exist without her. So the NFL would, like, the business side of the NFL would absolutely love Kansas City in the Super Bowl. You get uh you know a new GOAT that's young, still somewhat young, in Patrick Mahomes, if he goes for a three-peat, first team ever to three-peat, and you get Taylor in her box. Oh gosh. Watch the refs this week, man. Watch the refs. I just saw a post come out saying that opponents have had more penalties than the Chiefs in 11 straight playoff games. Interesting how that works out. Hugo says, do you think BA is mad he didn't go to Washington? I don't think he's mad. I don't think he's mad at all. I've actually been kind of checking in on BA. He's been posting some stuff to his YouTube account. He looks like he's living his life. Shout out to BA, man. Honestly, what he just bought a couple new whips. So he bought something that was super fire. I think it was a G-Wagon that he got. He got something super nice. I think, and he looked like, from an energy perspective, like, and again, I don't know BA like that, but just kind of watching him throughout the years, like, he looks genuinely like he looks solid. And I think for him, mentally being able to remove himself from everything that was last year, I think that will be a benefit to him. So I'm excited about BA next year for sure. I think he's gonna be fine. I think he's gonna be fine. I think he's gonna be bounce back. I think he's gonna be a faster heal. Like, he's gonna heal faster than people anticipate. Um, I saw someone say that, oh, he's not coming back until mid-year, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I really don't. I mean, we got how many months until the start of training camp? Like, I don't know. He's not going to be a part of OTAs or mini camp, but I I won't be shocked if he participates in training camp. I really won't. And that's my hope. And if that does happen, I think BA comes back on a terror. Um, I really do. I think all of last year will be fuel. I think everything, all the doubters, I mean, the fan base turning on him, all that stuff, I think that will all just fuel him. And I think he's so far removed from it now that I think, and that was probably the first time he's ever dealt with anything like that. So I think he's probably better well equipped to handle the outside noise and whatever it is. I think mentally he'll be good. I think he'll heal, and I think he'd be ready to go, man. I think BA is gonna ball. That's my gut feeling on it. I really do think that's going to be the case. We'll see. We'll see. Is he mad he didn't go to Washington? Hey, dude, would you be mad? If you couldn't play with Jaden Daniels, like Jaden Daniels is a generational quarterback. Um, I ain't mad. I ain't mad at it. Relax on Jaden Daniels. Stroud was hot thing last year. Stroud was a good quarterback, but there's something different about Jaden Daniels that for me personally, maybe not for other people, but I just see something a little bit different in Jaden uh, than uh, than Stroud. Stroud is a great athlete. Jaden is a legitimate processor. Like he legitimately can see everything. And not only that, he has elite physical tools. And that's the unicorn in today's NFL. Being able to see the whole field, hit your progressions, run complex schemes, and be able to have the ability to run and make plays, make every throw. He's a generational quarterback, in my opinion. And I didn't see it until I watched him, uh, like I said, doing draft prep for dynasty football because I wasn't scouting quarterbacks. And I was like, oh, he is really that guy. Um, and he proved that this year. I'm not saying Cliff Kingsbury's offense is complex. No, I'm saying playing the quarterback position in the NFL in general is complex. There's nothing easy about playing in an NFL quarterback or being an NFL quarterback at all, regardless of what scheme you think you're running. Obviously, there's different variations of difficulty within each scheme. Um, I would say the 49ers probably one of the more cerebral kind of schemes where you need to have that processing power. Um, but from everything that I've heard and other coaches have spoke on, they asked Jaden to do a lot that other rookie quarterbacks don't do. I think it was Bill Cowher. I was actually just watching Bill Cowher because he was talking about the difference between coaching Ben Roethlisberger as a rookie and what they're seeing with Jaden Daniels. And he talked about how with Roethlisberger, it was a progression of getting certain elements of the playbook to him, and it was a build up throughout the year. And he's like, they're not doing that in Washington. He's running the whole thing. He's running the whole scheme. Um, it doesn't look he's and again, like I don't have an eye for those kinds of things like that. So I'm gonna take him for his word. Bill Cowher's a great coach, and he has experience, coaching Hall of Fame quarterbacks as rookies and what that requires and what that buildup looks like. And he's just like, yeah, they're not doing that in Washington. He's running the whole thing. So I'll take him for his word because it looks like he is. it looks like that on tape when you're watching the games. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll do 5-minute rapid fire questions if you got them. Bring back Omenahue Farrell for depth at the right price. Sign Marcelino McCrary Ball. Interesting. Haven't heard that name in a while. I'm full board. Bring back Omenahue. I don't know if he'll be pricey or not, just due to his injury history. But if you can get him at a good price, I love Omenahue. Omenahue's great. Farrell, I wouldn't mind Farrell either. He's great in the run game for sure. How much do we pay Purdy? Market value. We pay him market value. It's that simple. We pay him market value. And if that market value is more than Dak, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I saw what Lombardi put out. I think it was 61 million uh APY, and I think it was 300 over 300 total. Dude, that number looks so intimidating when you see it like put out like that. It's like 5 years, over 300 million, 61 on average. And I was like, damn, that number looks so daunting. It looks so intimidating. I'm not even gonna front with you. Um, I saw that and I was like, God, that is so much money. Um, but again, just like Steve Young echoed today, as long as you, and I've said throughout this whole process, the market is the market. And as long as you can still build a competitive team around Brock and still build the pieces and still do everything that you need to do, then you pay him what you pay him. It is what it is. It's an unfortunate situation that the market has absolutely skyrocketed. But also, like I've talked about, like, okay, this is a good transition because we were just talking about Jaden Daniels. Let's say Jaden Daniels went to a Super Bowl and lost, went to an NFC championship game, got hurt. They weren't able to advance, has been and has had the same similar resume as Brock. I don't think we're talking about Jaden Daniels as like a $61 million quarterback. I think we're talking about Jaden Daniels in the 70s. And I'm trying to contextualize that, like, because I do believe that 50 to 60 is going to be mid-range in about 2 to 3 years. And I do think if you had a generational talent, like I believe Jaden Daniels is, from a physical tool standpoint, and he had the resume that Brock had, I think we're talking 70 plus for him. I think Jaden would be fed. They'd be talking about, damn, give this guy 500 million. Um, and I think that's how you can kind of contextualize what Brock is getting. At least for me, it's how I'm contextualizing it. Is, to me, Jaden Daniels would get significantly more than Brock would be getting if they had the same resume based on his physical tools and his draft pedigree and all of that. So that's how I'm contextualizing it. So, um, what does Brock get? Brock gets what he gets, man. He gets what he gets, and it's all based on the market. You want to get mad at someone, get mad at Trent Baalke. That's just what we're gonna do now. We're just gonna blame Trent Baalke for everything, um, and we're gonna call it a day. Oh, Trent. Oh, we'll see. You say he doesn't have the torn ACL. I don't know if we could take him. I don't know if we could take him that high. He doesn't have a torn ACL. If he had a torn ACL, we could probably take him a little higher. So we just blame Trent for everything. Seems like everyone else is. So we'll fall in line as well. Um, and yes, 100%, the cap is going to skyrocket. The cap is going to continue to rise year after year after year after year, and it has to. It has to rise to maintain the level of pay that these guys are getting paid. So they have to continue to make it more competitive. And so the cap will rise. It will rise and it will rise and it will rise because the price of quarterbacks are so freaking expensive. So that's just how it goes, man. That's just the way the Trent Baalke cookie crumbles. Hey, you gotta pay him. You gotta pay him higher than everyone else. That's what you gotta do. You gotta stick it to the 49ers. We're gonna inflate the wide receiver market with paying Christian Kirk. And we're gonna inflate the quarterback market by paying Trevor Lawrence. That's how we're gonna do it. So, if you want to blame anyone, blame Baalke. but it is what it is. Market is the market, and that's the cost of doing business in the NFL. You want to go back to having crapshoot at quarterback? I don't. I just think 49ers fans forget how difficult it was to get to this point with Brock. That doesn't mean Brock is the best quarterback in the NFL, but Brock is a top 10 quarterback. And it has been so difficult for the 49ers to get here to the point where they needed a miracle of Mr. Irrelevant turning into a top 10 quarterback. So I get it. People want the Jaden Daniels. I love Jaden Daniels. He's a phenomenal quarterback. But we got a top 10 quarterback right here, right now, 25 years old, can get better, can improve, very cerebral quarterback. And as long as you continue to build around him, we got to do what we got to do. Cap's going to rise, and we're not going to be the only team that has to deal with this. So there's going to be more. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts looks like a running back right now. Like at least Brock can read defenses and make it through his progressions and get the ball where it needs to be. And I apologize. That's an unnecessary shot at Jalen. I like Jalen Hurts. He's one of my dynasty quarterbacks. I think that's why I like him. But anyways, happy Friday to you all, guys. Hopefully you have a good one. Again, if you want to get in on the action, it's really simple. Use promo code SF9ers. All you got to do is play $5 and you instantly get $55 into your wallet. You can then take that $55 and then you could throw it on a ticket. Like I got a $40 ticket. I could win $1,100 right now. So just saying, get in on the action. And shout out to all you guys. Appreciate everyone for tapping in on this Friday. And hey, if we get any news that Robert Saleh is going to sign, you best believe we're going to be talking about it. You best believe we're making videos on it. And you best believe we're going live to finally celebrate for sure. Tommy says Hurts is the black Jimmy G string. What? Way to send us out, Tommy. Phenomenal job. Great work there. On that note, I am out. You guys have a great weekend. Smash that like button. Y'all are crazy. I'm out. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see